Some people want to be constantly surrounded by others, while others prefer to spend more time alone. One personality type seems to go into a self-induced isolation more than anyone, the INFJ. But what drives an INFJ to isolate themselves so often? Solitary people vary in so many ways. They may appear shy or even cranky. They usually appear quite normal, but they constantly withdraw into their self-imposed seclusion rather than interact with people. Even INFJs who want to overcome their solitude, whatever form it takes, find it difficult to stop the behaviors they have developed and their need for seclusion. Their secluded habits become the known, while their outings become the unknown. This can happen for many reasons, from the typical to the not so typical, which is why today I'm talking about 7 peculiar reasons INFJs isolate themselves. Make sure to watch until the end of today's video. These aren't talked about nearly enough, and I'm curious to know what your experiences are with them. Let's get into it. Welcome to Success for Breakfast, where I'm serving up brain food made simple. Hit that subscribe button to get the latest videos created to give you the tools to level up your life. Starting things off for me today is that INFJs don't like burdening others with their issues. INFJs despise burdening people with their problems. When an INFJ is overwhelmed or tormented by their inner thoughts, talking to another person is typically the last option on their list, and seclusion is the first and almost always preferred alternative. They believe they are alone in their struggles and that no one else is interested in their feelings and thoughts. However, this doesn't apply in the reverse. INFJs are constantly willing to help others because they are good listeners and very empathic, and they are concerned about the emotional environment they create for others, more than themselves. INFJs are so used to playing the part of the helper rather than the one in need that when they genuinely need someone, they reject the concept of looking to those people who are willing to help. It's all because they fear exposing their vulnerable side to others. Opening up to someone is extremely difficult for them since they are so apprehensive about it. If an INFJ overcomes their anxieties and opens up to someone and that person helps them, it feels almost wrong to an INFJ. It feels backwards and out of sorts, which is why they will just typically go into isolation and deal with it themselves. Next up is that INFJs like to isolate and focus on their life goals. INFJs may also resort to self-isolation to remove themselves from the outside world and concentrate solely on their life's goals and ambitions. As we all know, an INFJ's most dominant cognitive function is introverted intuition, which causes them to be daydreamers and extremely excited about planning their future and accomplishing all of their goals. They are goal-oriented and have a tendency to get lost in the future they wish to achieve and the objectives they desire. As a result, they understand the need to remain focused and devoted to working on themselves in that specific way. This is a product of years of looking for anything that would capture their complete attention. As I've previously said, INFJs are intuitive and can be rather anxious at times. They believe it's their job to have a purpose or a direction to which they are committed. Therefore, they take time away from their surroundings to reflect and study themselves in order to find their purpose and then to work on it. Coming in at number 5 on my list is that an INFJ might be in the middle of a crisis. INFJs may withdraw themselves when they are dealing with a crisis. They require time to digest their own thoughts, and they frequently prefer seclusion to do it. Thoughts can be overwhelming, especially for INFJs, so it's normal that they need to give themselves space and time to think them through. INFJs also believe that no one will ever understand their feelings or what they are going through, so they avoid pestering others with their thoughts and end up hiding all of their feelings and emotions from the world. Their thoughts are frequently filled with fear and distress, and they believe that they require time to repair themselves on their own. INFJs prefer to be alone in order to concentrate solely on their healing. They can have a problem when they try to understand their own thoughts and feelings, and they end up digging way too deep, which produces even more problems and makes them want to isolate themselves even more. As a result, they prefer to just be alone and end up isolating themselves completely. If you've gotten some value from this video so far, please show your appreciation by hitting that like button. That signals to YouTube that you think other people could benefit from this video too. Next up today is INFJs isolate to regulate their emotions. INFJs frequently withdraw from others in order to handle their feelings alone and peacefully. If they are overstimulated during the day, an INFJ will experience tension and anxiety. For example, after a long day at work, driving home, or socializing with many people, the INFJ's neurological system has had significantly more stimulation than most people. Isolation is required in this scenario to alleviate these symptoms and their associated pain. As a result, they must have some time away from their surroundings in order to regulate their emotions, as their introverted nature requires. The length of their seclusion will be determined by how much they have to deal with during the day. They may need just a few minutes to a few hours to reestablish emotional balance. Being able to find some time alone to digest and reflect on what the day has entailed, along with decompressing from being overstimulated, is pretty much a daily requirement for an INFJ. Kicking off my top 3 reasons an INFJ isolates themselves is they like solving their problems alone. INFJs believe that no one understands them, and that talking about their problems will make matters worse rather than better. Also, when they are overwhelmed by their emotions, they are unable to communicate with others. Communication is more difficult for them since they are experiencing several emotions at the same time, making it difficult for them to find the correct or perfect words. Even if they do have the appropriate words, they still believe that sharing with another person is not a good idea because they fear being judged and that no one would really understand them. INFJs respect their solitude and their desire to be self-sufficient. They also believe in self-control and facing the world on their own. In the runner-up spot is an INFJ might be depressed. They separate themselves when they are depressed because they need time alone to cope with stress and believe that the rest of the world will not understand. They are also introverted, so approaching someone is out of the question. While giving them their own space and time to themselves is beneficial, it can also be a blessing in disguise. When INFJs take time away to contemplate their feelings while they're depressed, they may go too far and explore areas they don't want to or have been avoiding. As a result, it can be destructive, and the extent of the impact may be incalculable. People who know an INFJ find it difficult to distinguish between them being depressed and their natural personality because they are usually independent and self-sufficient. If an INFJ is going through a depressive time in their life, their seclusion can be quite long and even alarming to those who really know them. For what reasons do you isolate yourself from others as an INFJ? Which of these do you relate to the most, and what would you add to my list? Leave a comment and tell me your stories and experiences. Topping my list today is that INFJs have extremely high expectations. When an INFJ reaches out to someone, they want to be understood in the same manner they understand others, and they expect the other person to comfort them in the same way they would like to be comforted. INFJs are notorious for being relationship perfectionists. They have extremely high expectations for themselves, and because they are fine being alone, they don't feel compelled to settle for anything less than their ideal situations or people. INFJs frequently isolate themselves because they believe the other person wants to be somewhere else or is only comforting them for the sake of comforting them. An INFJ assumes that the other person is wasting their time, and a single misstep on their part might lead to pushing them away. For an INFJ, simply being secluded means that they won't experience any disappointment from others. There is a reason INFJs have such extremely high expectations. Yes, they are idealistic and are firm in their values, but it goes beyond that. When you have high intelligence, your standards for pretty much everything are at the highest level, and an INFJ has one of the highest, if not the highest intelligence compared to everyone else. This video will show you why INFJ intelligence is so advanced compared to others and how you can utilize it to its full potential.